unwillingness to plan. It is unfortunate but true that most people spend more time planning party or vacation than planning their lives. Experience shows that unproperly planned meeting minute saves for in execution. Achievers who want to ensure success plan carefully. They even plan for the unplanned. If you have not planned for the unplanned, it means you have not planned properly. A general or executive will always have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Why are they planning to fail? Absolutely not. They are planning to succeed regardless of the obstacles. If plan A fails, plan B picks up and so on. Unwillingness to prepare, preparation. Confidence comes for preparation, which is nothing but planning and practicing. Winners put pressure on themselves. That is the pressure of preparing and not worrying about winning. If we practice poorly, we play poorly because we play as we practice. The difference between success and failure is the difference between doing exactly right and almost right. A complete mental and physical preparation is the result of sacrifice and self-discipline. It is easy to be average but tough to be the best. No wonder the average person chooses the easy way. Lives the life of mediocrity. Preparation is the necessary age to succeed in any field. Preparation equal to purpose plus principle plus planning. Preparation equal to purpose, principle, planning, practice, perseverance, patience, and pride. Preparation leads to confidence. Preparation means tolerating failure but never accepting it. It means having the courage to face defeat without feeling defeated, being disappointed without being discouraged. Preparation means learning from our mistakes. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes. We all do. A foolish one who makes the same mistake twice, a person who makes a mistake and doesn't correct it commits a bigger one. The best way to handle a mistake is to admit to it quickly, learn from it, not make excuses, be on it, never repeat it. Pressure comes from being unprepared. There is no substitute for preparation, practice, and hard work. Desire and wishful thinking won't do it. Only preparation will give you the competitive edge. Pressure can paralyze you if you are not prepared, or propel you to new heights if you are well prepared. Just as water gravitates to its own path, success gravitates to those who are prepared. Weak efforts get weak results. Persistence is a name begin to. Purpose, pride, principles, plan, patience, rise, preparation, practice, positive attitude. Purpose, pride, principles, plan, patience, rise, preparation, practice, positive attitude. Do you have a clearly defined purpose? Do you have a plan of action? What effort are you putting into preparation? Do you have pride in your performance? Do you have the patience to withstand the gestation period? Are you willing to practice toward excellence? Do you have any firm principles to stand on? What price are you willing to pay? How far are you willing to go? Do you have the positive attitude? Rationalizing. Winners may analyze theories, sympathize, but they never rationalize. Rationalization is a loser's game. Losers always have a book full of excuses to tell you why they could not be here. Excuses like I'm unlucky, I'm too young, I'm handicapped, I'm not educated, I don't have contacts, I don't have enough time. If only I didn't have a family. I am born under the wrong stars. I'm born under the wrong star. I'm too old. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good looking. I don't have enough money. The economy is bad. If only I had the opportunity. If only I had made it right. The list can go on and on. There are two things that determine whether a person is a success: reasons and results. Reasons don't count, but results do. How they catch monkeys in India. Monkey hunters use a box with an opening at the top, big enough for the monkey to slide his hand inside. Inside the box are nuts. The monkey grabs the nuts and now his hand becomes a fist. The monkey tries to get his hand out, but the opening is only big enough for the hand to slide, but not big enough for the fist. Now the monkey has a choice, either to let go of the nuts and be free forever, or hang on to the nuts and get caught. Guess what it picks every time? You guessed it. He hangs on to the nuts and gets caught. We are no different from monkeys. We all hang on to nuts that keep us from going forward in life. We keep rationalizing by saying, I cannot do this because, and whatever comes after because are the nuts that we are hanging on to that are holding us back. Successful people don't rationalize. Good advice for short failure is don't think, don't ask, and don't listen, just rationalize. Not learning from past mistakes. People who do not learn lessons from history are doomed. We learn from failure is we have the right attitude. Failure is a detour, not a dead end. It is a delay, not a defeat. Experience is the name we give to our mistakes. Some people live and learn, and some only live. Wise people learn from their mistakes, but wiser people learn from other people's mistakes because our lives are not long enough to learn only from our own mistakes. Inability to recognize opportunity. Opportunities can come disguised as obstacles. That is why most people don't recognize them. Remember, the bigger the obstacle, the greater the opportunity. Fear. Fear can be real or imaginary. Fear makes people do strange things. It primarily comes from a lack of understanding. To live in fear is to live in an emotional prison. Fear paralyzes and immobilizes people. Fear results in insecurity, lack of confidence, and procrastination. Fear destroys our potential and ability. We cannot think straight. Fear ruins relationships and health. Some common fears are fear of failing, fear of the unknown, fear of being unprepared, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of rejection. Some fears can be described, others can only be felt. Fear leads to anxiety, which in turn leads to irrational thinking, and this actually sabotages our ability to solve the problem. The normal response to fear is escape. Escape puts us in a comfort zone and reduces the impact of fear temporarily while the cause remains. Imaginary fears magnify the problem. Fear can get out of hand and destroy happiness and relationships. Think of fear as meaning, false evidence appearing real. Fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. Failure is not the worst thing that can happen to someone. People who don't try have failed even before attempting. When infants learn to walk, they keep falling, but to them it is not failing, it is learning. If they became disheartened, they would never walk. Inability to use talent. Albert Einstein said, I think I used about 25% of my intellectual capacity during my life. According to William James, human beings use only 10 to 12% of their potential. The saddest part of the most people's lives is that they die with the music still in them. They haven't lived life while alive. They rust out there. They rust out rather than wear out. I would rather wear out than rust out. The saddest words in life are I should have. Rusting out is not to be confused with patience. Patience is a conscious decision. It is active and involves perseverance and persistence. Rusting out is idleness and passivity. Someone asked an elderly person what is life's heaviest burden. The elderly person replied sadly, to have nothing to carry. Lack of discipline. You have a choice in life. You can either pay the price of discipline or regret. Have you ever wondered why some people never reach their goals? Why are they always frustrated with reversals and crises? Why do some people have continued success while others have endless failures? Anyone who has accomplished anything worthwhile has never done so without discipline. Whether in sports, athletics, academia, or business, what we are referring to is self-discipline, not external discipline. People without discipline try to do everything but commit themselves to nothing. Some so-called liberal thinkers have interpreted lack of discipline as freedom. When I am in an aircraft, I want a pilot who is disciplined and does what he's supposed to do and not what he feels like doing. I don't want him to have the philosophy I am free. I don't want anyone from the control tower telling me what to do. Lack of consistency demonstrates poor discipline. Discipline takes self control, sacrifice, and avoiding distractions and temptations. It means staying focused. Steam does not move the engine unless it is confined. Niagara Falls would not generate power unless it were harnessed. We all know the story of the tortoise and the hare. The hare bragged about his speed and challenged the tortoise to a race. The tortoise accepted the challenge. They appointed a fox as the judge. The race started and the tortoise kept going slowly, but the hare sprinted out. He quickly left the tortoise behind. As he was confident of winning the race, he decided to take a nap. By the time he woke up, remembered the race and resumed running. The tortoise had already reached the finish line and time. The old moral used to be slow and steady wins the race. But if we go a little deeper, the main changes to the fact that even though the tortoise was not fast, the hare was overconfident and lacked self-discipline. Consistency takes discipline is more important than erratic effort. Discipline and regret are both painful. Most people have a choice between the two. Guess which is more painful? Obviously, regret. Generally, children brought up with excessive freedom and a lack of discipline grow up not respecting themselves, their parents, or society, and have a hard time accepting responsibility. Low self esteem. Low self esteem is a lack of self respect and self worth. Low self esteem leads to self doubt. It leads to abuse of oneself and others. Ego takes the driver's seat. Decisions are taken more to satisfy the ego than to accomplish anything worthwhile. People with low self esteem are constantly looking for identity. They are trying to find themselves, not realizing that oneself is not to be found, but to be created. Idleness and laziness laziness are consequences of low self-esteem, and so as making excuses. Idleness is like rust that eats into the most brilliant metal, lack of knowledge. 60 years ago, I knew everything. Now I know nothing. Education is a progressive discovery of our own ignorance. The first step towards knowledge is awareness of areas of ignorance. The more knowledge a person gains, the more he realizes what areas he is ignorant in. A person who thinks he knows everything has the most to learn. Ignorant people don't know they are ignorant. They don't know that they don't know. In fact, more than ignorance, the bigger problem is the illusion of knowledge. Because when you think you know something but don't, your decision making will be flawed. Fatalistic attitude. A fatalistic attitude prevents people from accepting responsibility. People with fatalistic attitudes attribute success and failure to luck. Fatalistic. They resign themselves to their fate. They accept the predestined future written in their horoscope or stars. They believe that regardless of their effort, whatever has to happen will happen. Hence, they never put in any effort and complacency becomes a way of life. People with a fatalistic attitude wait for things to happen rather than making them happen. Success is a matter of luck. Ask any failure. Weak-minded people fall easy prey to fortune tellers, horoscopes and self-proclaimed godmen who are sometimes con men. They become superstitious and ritualistic. Some people consider a rebel sport lucky, but it wasn't lucky for the rebel. Was it? Was it? If you want to fail, believe in luck. If you want to succeed, believe in the principles of cause and effect, and you will create your own luck. As Simon Gold will said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. Some people think they are just unlucky. They count on luck to deliver rather than their own efforts. They count on luck to deliver rather than their own efforts, not realizing luck favors the prepared. Hence, whatever they do, they go unprepared, attempt half-heartedly, and say things like, I will give it a try, I will give it a shot, I haven't put much into it anyway, I will see if it works, I have nothing to lose. If you think about it, it is this kind of non-committed behavior that results in failure. Attempting half-heartedly is like expecting failure and achieving it. Efforts does it. A man bought a racehorse and put him in a barn with a big sign. The fastest horse in the world. The owner didn't exercise the horse, no training to keep it in good shape. He entered the horse in a race and it came last. The owner quickly changed the sign to fastest world for the horse. The fastest world for the horse. By inaction or not doing what should be done, people fail and they blame luck. Life without vision, courage, and depth is simply a blind experience. Small, lazy, and weak minds always take the easiest way, the path of least resistance. Ask an athlete how he feels after a good workout. He will tell you that he feels spent. If he doesn't feel that way, it means he hasn't worked out to his maximum ability. Losers think life is unfair. They think only of their bad breaks. They don't consider that the person who is prepared and playing well still got the same bad breaks but overcame them. That is the difference. The winner's threshold for tolerating pain becomes higher because in the end he is not training just for the game but for his character. Luck favors those who help themselves. A flood was threatening a small town and everyone was leaving for safe places. drown except for one man who said, God will save me. I have faith. As the water level rose, a jeep came to rescue him. The man refused, saying, God will save me. I have faith. As the water level rose further, he went up to the second story of his house, and the boat came to help him. Again he refused to go, saying, God will save me. I have faith. The water kept rising, and the man climbed on the roof. A helicopter came to rescue him, but he said, God will save me. I have faith. Well, finally he drowned. When he reached his maker, he angrily questioned, I had complete faith in you. Why did you ignore my prayers and let me drown? The Lord replied, Who do you think sent who do you think sent you the jeep, the boat and the helicopter? What is the moral of the story? He not only did not act to help himself but even rejected the help that came his way. The above story is a clear example of fatalistic behavior, which is prevalent in most failures. The only way to overcome a fatalistic attitude is to accept responsibility and believe in the law of cause and effect rather than luck. It takes action, preparation, and planning rather than waiting, wanting and wishing to accomplish any goal in life. Luck shines on the deserving. Alexander Graham Bell was desperately trying to invent a hearing aid for his partially deaf wife. He failed at inventing a hearing aid, but in the process discovered the principles of the telephone. You wouldn't call someone like that lucky, would you? Good luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Without effort and preparation, lucky coincidence don't happen. Luck. He worked by day and toiled by night. He gave up play and some delight. Dry books he read, new things to learn, and forged ahead. Success to learn, success to earn. He plodded on with faith and pluck, and when he won, men called it luck. Lack of purpose. A lifetime goal is called a purpose. It gives meaning to life. Great minds have purposes, others have wishes. If we read stories of people who have overcome serious disabilities, it is evident that their burning desire to succeed was their driving force. They had a purpose in life. They wanted to prove to themselves that they could succeed in spite of all odds, and they did. Desire is what made a paralytic Wilma Rudolph the fastest woman on the track at the 1960 Olympics, winning three gold medals. When people lack purpose and direction, they are unable to see opportunity. If a person has the desire to accomplish something, knows the destination, moves in that direction, focused with dedication and the discipline required, then success will follow. But if you don't have purpose and direction, it doesn't matter what else you have, you won't succeed. Lack of courage. Courage is not an absence of fear, but the overcoming of fear, character, justice, and integrity. Without courage is ineffective, whereas courage without character is operation. When our minds are filled with courage, we forget our fears and overcome obstacles. People who lack courage can never be trusted. They will always let you down at the last moment. Weak people can never be sincere, and cowards can never practice morality. How can they? They don't have the courage to do it. Successful people do not look for miracles or easy tasks. They seek courage and strength to overcome obstacles. They look at what is left rather than what is lost. Wishes don't come true. Beliefs and expectations supported by conviction do. Prayers are only answered when they are supported with courageous action. Courage and character are the critical combination for success. A recipe for success. Success is like baking a cake. cake. Unless you have just the right recipe, it is not going to work. The ingredients must be of the finest quality and in the right proportions. You can overbake it or undercook it. Once you have the correct recipe, with practice and learning from the occasional mishap, it becomes a lot easier. You have the recipe, whether or not to utilize, I mean, whether or not to use it, it is your choice. Action plan, quit, never, sometimes, mostly always. Do you practice persistence regularly? Do you accept short-term pain for long-term gain? Do you live by your priorities? Do you have conviction in whatever you do? Do you plan and prepare whatever you do? Do you accept responsibility for your actions? Do you learn from your mistakes? Do you manage to overcome fear? Do you use your talent optimally? Do you practice self discipline? Are you a fatalistic person? Do you feel a strong sense of self worth? Do you have a specific purpose in life? Do you consistently practice being courageous? Identify three most critical areas you commit to improve. List the areas in your life where lack of discipline is hurting you and estimate its cost consequences to yourself. The next time you face adversity, ask yourself these two questions. What can I learn from this challenge? How can I turn this to my advantage? Motivation. Motivating yourself and others every day. Thoughts more logic. Emotions more feelings. Motivation moves us into action. Good things come to those who wait, not only those things left by those who hustle. Some consultants adopt the approach of telling others what to do. I take a different approach. My approach is, why don't you? I believe most people already know what to do. If you ask people on the street what should we do, not motivate them. Why? Because motivation is action. I cannot act for you. You will have to act for yourself. Inspiration is thinking, and when thinking changes, it starts reflecting in behavior, belief system. To move into action, we need to believe in what we do and accept responsibility for our lives. When we accept responsibility for our behavior and actions, our attitude towards life becomes positive. We become more productive, both personally and professionally. Our relationships improve both at home and at work. Life becomes more meaningful and fulfilling. Till the basis physical needs are met, money is the greatest motivator. Theater, Thereafter emotional needs become a bigger motivator. Let's define motivation. The next logical question is, what is motivation? Motivation is a drive that encourages an action or a feeling. To motivate means to encourage and inspire. Motivation can also mean igniting the spark for action. Motivation is powerful, it can convince, and propel you into action. In other words, motivation can be defined as motive for action. It is a force that can literally change your life. Why do we need to get motivated? Motivation is the driving force in our lives. It comes from a desire to succeed. Without success, there is a little pride in life, no enjoyment or excitement at work or at home. Life becomes like a lopsided wheel giving a bumpy ride. The greatest enemy of motivation is complacency, leads to lack of effort, and when people are complacent, they don't grow because they cannot identify what is needed in their lives. Motivation, how does it work? Once you understand what causes motivation, you can motivate yourself and achieve your goal, and you can inspire others too. Your internal motivation is your drive and attitude. It is contagious. Your attitudes are the key to getting the response you want from others. How does a person stay motivated and focused? One important tool that has been used by athletes. All of these can be motivating forces. Every behavior comes out of these can be motivating forces. Every behavior comes out of the pain or gain principle. If the pain is greater than the than the gain, it is a deter than to action. If the gain is greater than the pain, that is a motivator. Gains can be tangible, such as monetary rewards, vacations, and gifts. They can also be intangible, emotional, such as recognition, appreciation, sense of achievement, growth, responsibility, sense of fulfillment, self-worth, accomplishment, and belief. Motivation is like fire. Unless you keep adding fuel to it, it dies. Your fuel is your belief in your inner value. When this belief in inner values fades, your motivation, your your motivation becomes long lasting. External and internal motivation. Motivation is classified into two types: external and internal. External motivation. External motivation comes from outside. Examples of external motivators are money, societal approval, fame or fear. For example, fear of getting spanked by parents or fear of getting fired at work. Fear motivation. A company wanted to set up a pension plan. In order for the plan to be implemented, it needed 100% participation. Everyone signed up except John. The plan made sense and was in the best interest of everyone. John's refusal to sign was the only obstacle. John's supervisor and other co-workers had tried without success to persuade him to sign. The owner of the company called John into his office and said, "John, here is a pen and these are the papers for you to sign to enroll into the pension plan. If you don't enroll, you are fired this minute." John signed. The owner asked John why he didn't sign earlier. John replied, "No one explained the plan quite as clearly as you did." It is not uncommon to see the prey outsmarting the predator because one is running for its food and the other for its life. Some advantages of your motivation are: it gets the job done quickly, it prevents losses by meeting deadlines. In the short run, the person's performance may improve. If a ferocious dog is chasing you, you might just break the world record in a sprint. Who knows? We learn from history that the pyramids were built by slaves. They had to be constantly watched and reprimanded for no performance. Some disadvantages of fear motivation are: it is external and it is temporary. Motivation stays while the motivator stays. When the motivator goes, motivation also goes. In the long haul, it causes stress and impacts performance. People do enough only to comply with and no more. Destroys creativity. People get used to the stick and then they need a bigger stick. People who do just enough to get by with will never be valued to any organization. A customer asked an employee, "When did you start working here?" He replied, "Ever since they threatened to fire me." Incentive motivation. External motivation can also take the form of incentives, bonuses, commission, recognition, and so forth. The major advantage of incentive motivation is that it works very well as long as the incentive is strong enough. Think of a donkey with a carrot dangling in front of and pulling a cart behind. Incentive motivation will only work if the donkey is hungry enough, the carrot is sweet enough, and the load is light enough. If the combination is missing, incentive motivation will not From time to time, you have to let the donkey take a bite of the carrot, otherwise, it is going to get discouraged. Also, after the donkey takes a bite or its stomach is full, you may need to wait for the donkey to get hungry again before it will pull the cart. This same cycle is typically seen in our business environment. The moment salespeople meet their quotas, they stop working. This is because the motivation is limited to meeting their quotas, that is external motivation, not internal. A few advantages of incentive motivation are: rewards are tied to results. It may help a marginal performer because performer become a good performer. A few disadvantages of incentive motivation are: you take away the incentive and motivation goes down. After some time, they become used to the incentive and want bigger ones. Many times, it becomes self-destructive. Internal motivation. What's the greatest motivator? The greatest motivator is belief. People will do a lot for money, more for a good leader, but most for a belief. In the United States, Middle East, Far East, anywhere people are willing to die for a belief for no money. In Thailand, there are groups of people who pierce their cheeks with bamboos without anesthesia. Human rights would call it torture, but they do it voluntarily. In India, there are groups of people who put torch steel rods on their tongues, hooks on their bodies, and they walk on fire. Human rights would call it torture, but they do it voluntarily. What is it? Belief. The most important thing is that belief is the greatest motivator. But remember, a false belief is also belief. When we believe that we are responsible for our lives and our behavior, our outlook towards life changes for the better. There was a young boy who came regularly to football practice but never made it to the team. While he was practicing, his father would sit at the far end of the field, waiting for him. For 4 days, the boy didn't show up for practice. The matches had begun and his team was playing the finals. He showed up for the finals and went up to the coach and said, "Coach, you have always kept me in the reserves and never let me play in their matches. But today, please let me play." The coach said, "Son, I'm sorry, I can't let you play. There are better players than you, and besides, it is the finals. The reputation of this school is at stake, and I cannot take a chance." The boy pleaded, "Coach, I promise I will not let you down. Please let me play." The coach had never seen the boy playing like this before. He said, "Okay, son, go play. But remember, I am going against my better judgment, and the reputation of the school is at stake. Don't let me down." The game started, and the boy played like a bone on fire. Every time he got the ball, he shot a goal. Needless to say, he was the star of the game and his team won. When the game finished, the coach went up to him and said, "Son, how could I have been so wrong in my life? I have never seen you play like this before, and I don't think you have played like this before either. What happened? How did you play this game today?" The boy replied, "Coach, my father is watching me today." The coach turned around and looked at the place where the boy's father used to sit. There was only an empty bench. He said, "Son, told you, my father was blind just 4 days ago. He died today." Internal motivation is lasting because it comes from within and translates into self-motivation. Motivation needs to be identified and constantly strengthened to succeed. Write down your goals, keep them in front of you, and read them morning and evening. Internal motivation comes from within. Some of the important internal motivators are a sense of responsibility, accountability, ownership, pride in performance, etc. Appreciation has been considered tough, though its manifestations feelings are intentional to their zero. Pride in performance is an internal motivator. At the end of the day, the person feels good because he has done a great job. Even if no one appreciates, he still feels good. In contrast, if a person does not do a good job, even if you appreciate them, they still don't feel good. Our objective here is to inculcate internal motivators. Responsibility is internal as it originates within. Responsibility comes from a sense of belonging and ownership. Take the case of Jill, a customer service representative who had been on the job for 6 years, a relatively long time in a job that had a high turnover rate. Jill liked her job. She liked talking with customers and being a problem solver. What she didn't like was the fact that most of the other customer service reps who had been there less than 2 years were on equal footing with him. Jill was frustrated and discouraged that many of the other reps were not willing to listen to her suggestion. When they did have a problem, they'd go to the manager for help, even though the manager didn't have the frontline experience that Jill did. The manager began to notice that while Jill's performance wasn't bad, it wasn't as good as it had been, and Jill no longer seemed to be happy with her job, nor wanting to lose such a valuable Given the title of supervisor and told the other reps that all problems were to go through Jill. Jill's increased responsibility fueled her need for respect, and her performance immediately improved.